Welcome to the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast. This is episode number 110.
We're back, baby.
We are back. I'm your co-host, Kieren Lefebvre, joined by Adam Childs.
Yeah, it's episode 110, Ask a Black Belt. It feels like it's been forever.
It has been
we've
forever.
done one of these episodes.
How long do you think it's been?
Well, it'd be 20 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. You in. But it's been about 3 months.
Yeah, because you typically do them every 10th episode. So we did it episode 90, but then for episode 100, we did a random, hey, milestone episode.
Yeah.
And then now 110.
Now 110. So we're back to our regular programming.
Yeah,
and we
that's
do the Ask a Black Belt Q&As every 10 episodes. So if you're new to the podcast, the way the format works is people submit an audio question to our mailbox, and we play the question on air and answer the question as the best of our abilities.
That's right.
That is the format.
Yeah, before we get stuck in, anyone who didn't listen to last week's episode, the last episode of the podcast was a special episode because I wasn't on it. No, it was so Kieren had an episode with Jordan Teaches Jiu Jitsu, who, if you're not sure who he is, he's blown up on YouTube. He's got a really great YouTube channel. He's a black belt out of Toronto in Canada. He's also now got an instructional on BJJ Fanatics, I believe.
Yeah, multiple.
Yeah. So anyway, if you missed that one, last episode, go back and check that out. It's a bit of a special episode in the sense that it's I'm not on the episode and it's Kieren and Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
That's all Kieren got to say about it. Yeah.
No, it was good. Definitely go listen to it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about like some of the subject matter in that episode as the nature of these questions come out. So we have a wide variety of questions today. We have questions pertaining to training, competition, nutrition, strength and conditioning, and some more interesting ones thrown in. Or not more interesting, but funny, interesting ones thrown in there for a bit of a laugh. So
I think we got a few, so let's get stuck in. This is the quickest intro we've ever done. 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and we're into the content, into the subject matter of the episode.
We're becoming
That's never
experts.
happened before.
Never ever.
Before you know it, we'll be having 13-minute episodes and calling it an episode.
No, I think there'll be riots. We've already had like some backlash about reducing to one episode a week.
We have.
So we reduced the one episode a week down even further. I think there'll be riots.
Yeah, I know. I've had quite a few people actually comment being like,
what the hell?
Come on, bro. I was like locked in. I had my Tuesday episode and my Friday episode. But yeah, I mean, we just couldn't maintain the quality and keep those 2 episodes going. So
we might have to revisit that if we get enough Patreons.
Shameless. Like what are the YouTube ones? Like comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a bit like that, isn't it?
It really is. It 100% is. Unfortunately, when you're sitting on the other side of like the creator fence, if you will, it really is like that.
Because I mean, a lot of these YouTube channels that might have banging videos, right? They might be awesome videos, but they're not necessarily making a lot of money. That dude is putting in hours to make the videos, edit the videos, whatever, and then he's still got to turn around and go to whatever day job he's got. Maybe he's out. Maybe he's a garbage man. Maybe he works in a supermarket. Whatever. They're still going out and doing a 40-hour week working their job.
Let me put it this way: the nutrition video I made on my YouTube channel took me about a week to make. Not a week of not a 40-hour work week, but a week of effort. So probably over 20 hours into that, like researching, scripting, editing, animation, everything. And after it's been up on the YouTube ether for now 12 months, it's been up for 1 year, it has made $60.
Worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's got obviously it's not, a short-term game, but it just goes to show that YouTube doesn't really pay. It only pays the upper echelon. The average income for a channel with over 1 million subscribers is like $70,000 a year.
Yeah.
So it's enough to be full-time, but it's not what you think. You don't someone with 1 million subscribers on YouTube isn't rich. You know what I mean? They're making
they're making a regular
salary.
Wage.
Yeah, but so now our intro is 5 minutes. So
yes,
this is more like it. All right, so enough on that downer note. On to the questions. I'm really excited about these questions. We got some awesome questions today. So let's get into the first one. It's from Trevor.
Hey guys, it's Trevor. I'm trying to decide what skill category to enter in for my local competition. They do it based on years of experience. I've been training about 8 years, but jiu-jitsu is definitely not my main sport. I do a lot of rock climbing and parkour. There's been months where I haven't trained at all, months where I've maybe gone into the gym, once or twice during the month, and then other periods where I've taken a little more seriously. So if you go by my date of starting training, I'm well into the expert category. But if you go by my amount of time actually spent on the mats, I'm probably more intermediate, and I'm still a white belt. So I don't want to sandbag, but I also want to give my opponents and myself good matches in the tournament. So what category do you think I should enter? Thanks.
Thanks for your question, Trevor. Yeah, interesting one, because I'm not sure, maybe it's like a grappling industries comp or something.
Yeah,
Where,
sounds like it. Very similar.
yeah, where it's not separated by belts, it's just by experience. And I don't know, based on, it's hard to say exactly because I haven't trained with Trevor or whatever, but just based on that, and I mean, if you're still at the gym a white belt, I mean, I would just go in if they've got beginner, intermediate, expert, then go intermediate. But I think you said at the start that they've just got
beginner, intermediate. No, you're right. Yeah, I think
they've got all three.
Yeah,
bro. Then go in intermediate for sure. If it's just separated in two, like. Yeah, because some of those comps, they'll be something like, 0 to 2 years experience. You go in this one, 2 to 4. Man, you feel like you've trained for quite a long time, but on and off, but you're still wearing a white belt. I guess that's obviously at your coach's discretion. So you got to take that into consideration as well. And it sounds like, Trevor, you're wanting to do the right thing. You're not wanting to just go, oh, well, I'm pretty much a black belt, but I'll just go in the beginner so I can smash face. No, you're saying you want to go in the appropriate category so you and your opponents have good matches. By the sounds of it, intermediate's the right place for you to go. If it were just novice and expert, there were only two options, then I would go with novice, because I don't think it's fair to throw you in with expert. 8 years is a long time, but it sounds like there's a lot more time off training than on training if after 8 years your coach still hasn't given you a blue belt. So that makes me think you spend more time not in the gym, because like you said, Trevor, it's not your primary sport. You do a lot of other sports. So I think for me, without having trained with you in person, I would say intermediate would be the best place to go, bro. That sounds like the right division for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Would you? I mean, you've done some of these competitions that separate it by.
Yeah, so I've never actually competed in one.
I thought you had.
I'm competing in one the first time at the start of November. So I've signed up, but it just never happened. I bitched out. But those round robin comps, a lot of the time in Australia, they're the ones that separate by experience are round robin based. So you get like 4 or 5 matches. Which is cool. I've never actually done one yet. So I think the next one I do, I'm going to give a go at expert. But that's because I want to play around with heel hooks.
Right. Yeah, well, that's okay then as well. Like if you – different point to Trevor's question.
Completely
Trevor's wanting to be in the appropriate category, so all parties involved have a good match.
And I want to see what happens.
And you're wanting to kind of jump in the deep end.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, that's fine. But if you were taking Trevor's approach, you would
100%
put yourself into where? Into intermediate, right?
Yeah, I would.
And that's
particularly if you have to
as
have
a
the
blue
conversation.
belt.
Yes.
So Trevor being a white belt, but having trained for pretty much 4 times longer than you have on and off, obviously. You'd have to go with intermediate.
100% agreed. Because if he's having to bring up like in his mind, oh shit, I'm worried about, I don't want to be perceived as sandbagging, then we can pretty much eliminate beginner. Because 8 years, regardless of what color belt you are, 8 years beginner doesn't really seem like the appropriate fit, but definitely not expert. Because, at the end of the day, in expert division, you're most likely going to be coming up against very senior blue belts or people like myself that want to give it a red hot crack. Purple belts, brown belts, and black belts.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's appropriate.
He could be. I was going to ask the question, why, Trevor, are you still wearing a white belt? Why haven't you been given your blue belt? And maybe it's because Trevor's moved around, changed gyms. But then I thought maybe he's also like our boy Paul at the gym. So we have this guy, Paul, at the gym, who you could say is good enough, like when you roll with him in no-gi, good enough to be a blue belt, I guess, but he's yet to tick the other boxes in terms of, the other things I look for as an instructor grading someone, which is, well, he doesn't train in the gi at all. And I have different subject that we're not talking about today, but I'm yet to make a complete separation. I'm not sure. I'm undecided. We spoke about this in gi versus no gi, whether you would grade students who only do one and not the other. At the moment in my gym, I say to students, you've got to do both, right? That's how it works here. But that might change in the future. I don't know. There's this two sports keep pushing further and further away from each other. So I'm not saying that in the future I won't be grading people who only ever do no gi or grading people who only ever do gi. Anyway, so Paul at the moment, it doesn't quite tick the boxes of the things that I want for someone to be graded, but he makes me think of this because he never trains. He rocks into the gym like once every 3 months, very similar. He'll have a couple week period where he trains a lot and then he'll disappear. I won't see him for 6 months. And then I'll see that he's registered to do a competition. And then I rock up and he's there competing. I'm like, Paul, where have you I haven't even seen you. Like, what
he's an enigma, man. He's so interesting in that sense.
Yeah, and then he does well,
Yeah, he's a fucking specimen, dude.
Yeah, he is. He's
Dude's
a big,
jacked as fuck. He makes me look small.
Yeah, he's quite a big, strong dude.
Yeah, man.
But so, that could be maybe he hasn't gotten a blue belt because he has a similar path to Paul.
Maybe. Yeah, the whole like moving gyms thing. It's something that I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm petrified of that happening. Of like, let me expand. Of the whole, if you're progressing in your jiu-jitsu journey, and I know that belt doesn't really matter. It's about the journey, not what you're wearing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how many stripes you have. But that was an inside joke. But I suppose if you move gyms, not only are you going to be being coached under someone different, so they're gonna, as you said in the podcast before, reset. If a blue belt walks in your view, they're a day one blue belt, regardless of whether they've been a blue belt for like 2 years, give or take.
Yeah, kind of.
There's a little bit of wiggle room, obviously, if whatever. But in terms of being that blue belt, maybe they're senior, they walk in day one and then they're viewed as a day one blue belt. They're now under a different coach. So there's different expectations. You're going to learn different things. Everyone's flavor of jiu-jitsu is slightly different, particularly if it's like coming from a completely different lineage, different team, different vibe, different culture, if you will. So yeah, in a sense, you are kind of a day one blue belt. And that worries me as being, that happening to me at some point in that journey, in my journey to black belt, because that's not only delay, but I don't know. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Makes me feel uneasy.
I guess that could also be part of the reason why people stay at gyms that they're unhappy at for longer periods of time than they should.
Yeah, you don't want to do that either. Yeah.
But anyway, to finish off Trevor's question, go with intermediate, my man. That sounds like, based off your question, where you're going to get the best matches for you and your opponent.
Yeah, agreed. And good on you for like keeping your opponent in mind as well.
Yeah, what a dude.
That's fucking awesome. All right, next question is from Peter. Let's play Peter's question. If it loads.
Hey, Kieren. I have a question for black belt Adam Childs. He'll know who this is from. My question is, when your digestive system doesn't cooperate with you on a competition day, what do? Do you go in with a huge risk of becoming the biggest laughingstock on social media? Or do you save your face and forfeit? Thank you.
My man, Peter. So that's an old friend of mine, Peter Kim. So when I first trained jiu-jitsu, like the first place I trained was in Brazil, but the first like gym I joined was actually in Canada when I was living there. And that's how I got to know Peter. Peter became a good friend of mine. He even visited me living in Brazil, came down and trained at my gym in Brazil and everything. So I know Peter really well. this might be more of a question for you, Kieren, based on your nutrition expertise, but it's actually a valid question because I've seen there's videos on YouTube of people like shitting themselves in the middle of matches.
I've not seen that.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. And even a lot of people, you walk into the bathrooms at a comp,
Yeah.
bro, it's ranked. The amount of people taking nervous poops
Yeah, man.
at competitions, like there's a lot of people, so even if your digestive system is on point, people get so nervous, they get, for lack of a better term, physically ill.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a valid question. Obviously the whole if it's nervous pooing, that's a whole different thing. You're talking about sports psychology and all that sort of stuff. But I would assume that the correct answer if your digestive system is a problem, that started before competition day. Like that started depending what you're eating, everything, digests at a quicker or faster rate, but that's going to be the days leading up to the competition. What did you eat the night before the competition? What have you eaten the morning of the competition? But what I do know is that athletes who are in a sport where they're forced to travel a lot to a lot of different parts of the world. So again, the one that everyone by now knows that I watch and follow being Formula One, these guys race all around the world. I know that typically athletes who have this type of career, they'll be very particular and kind of eat the same thing on on race day or fight day or whatever, the day before and the day of, because they don't want to be like, oh yeah, cool. Like we're now, in doing a fight or an event in Thailand and yeah, I'm going to try this spicy curry, whatever. And then turns out that, it just wrecks their digestive system. They got the runs and whatever. You don't want to do that, right? So I know that to save face with your digestive system, I would argue that it's the days leading up to it. Eat something that works for you. Don't eat something whack the morning of the competition. And I assume you're going to have a similar answer. You'd probably have a more scientific answer about foods that are less diuretic or whatever. Don't know, but that's my
I
2
agree.
cents.
No, you're 100% spot on. One common problem I see with people trying to focus on their nutrition for a competition day is they think, oh, what do I need to eat? Like, is in something new, something interesting. It's kind of like a good analogy, Adam.
I give you permission. You may make an analogy.
Thank you, analogy, Adam. I would say is people in jiu-jitsu, when they're looking at their training, they're always looking, or like particularly junior belts, they're always looking for that one move that's going to work. You know what I mean? It's the same
secret magic.
The
move
secret
that for some reason no one else knows.
Yeah,
but
it's hidden. It's hidden on Danaher's instructional for $199.
Yeah, that's
Buy
right.
all of them, and you'll find it. That one move, but that's a good analogy because it's similar in nutrition. People are always looking, oh, what's that one meal I need? What's one type of food that I need to have that's going to give me the edge on competition day? I mean, I think that what you were saying about athletes that consistently eat the same thing on comp day and even the weeks leading up to it, in some cases, there's a reason for that. It's because you don't want to introduce anything new or different.
I would. Yeah. And sorry to interrupt, but yeah, saying new or different, even if I find that's actually a great point, right? Saying new or different. And the reason I want to highlight those two words is because you can eat something better, healthier, but if it's new, it'll still wreck you. For example, if you're someone who maybe you're someone who's relatively in shape, let's say me through my years where I competed a lot more, right? Obviously super fit and active and relatively healthy, but if I didn't have a comp coming up, if I wasn't doing a camp, I would definitely kind of I would eat whatever, drink beer, whatever, didn't really care so much. But then when I said, okay, now this is day one of my camp or day one of cutting weight or whatever. So my diet kind of changes overnight and becomes insanely healthy. like that'll wreck your digestive system for a little bit. Even though you're
100%.
you're thinking like, why am I now pooping 8 times a day?
100%.
Like when I'm eating salads and, boiled chicken and whatever. It's like, well, because it's different, you know, and your body needs to adapt a little
microbiome
bit.
is adapting to the new whatever you're introducing into that system.
So just because you think like, oh, but this is the healthier and the right thing to do. Well, if you never eat that in your regular diet, it'll mess with you.
Yeah, exactly. And then you will shit your pants, Peter. So don't do that, man. But I will and further to that, I think that I'm not saying that you shouldn't implement different things on competition day. For example, using caffeine. If you're someone that doesn't normally train on caffeine, should you, smash a Red Bull for the first time before training? Before your comp? No, you probably shouldn't do that. However, if you want to test it out.
I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Help. Tap. Like, bro, you're just weighing in. Chill out. You're fine.
But what you should and could do is test whatever protocol you want to use. Like if you've looked up or bought my course and seen the protocol that I recommend or whatever.
You haven't even plugged the course yet.
Course available now. Check the link in the description. I'll talk more about that in a future question. But yeah, so if you want to test out a protocol that you've seen or researched, or like people saying, oh, it really helps for sports performance if you take this supplement or try implementing this nutrition strategy. Test it out in training first. Pick a day that's going to be a tough day of training and test out your protocol. Take the supplements, implement the caffeine or do whatever before you go do comp training or before you go do, a hard training session and see how your body reacts. It's the same
It's like doing a dummy run.
Exactly. It is exactly like that. It's the same in endurance racing. This is a big problem in endurance racing because people that do endurance racing, they need to.
You mean like ultra marathons?
Like ultra marathons, like triathlons, Ironmans, things like that. Even these like high level athletes, they need to be ingesting some form of sustenance during the race to keep them going. Otherwise, they'll completely bonk.
Yeah, but you can't stop and eat a sandwich halfway through a race.
Yeah, so the body will shut down. But during training, they're not used to, you're not running an Ironman or competing in an Ironman for training. It's ridiculous, right? It's a not thing. It's kind of like a marathon's more mental because you're not running marathons to prepare for a marathon. It's not normal people anyway.
Yeah.
There's always exceptions. But the point I'm making is even these athletes, they'll be implementing these nutrition strategies that they've looked up that are, U-Butte, and then that's how they shit themselves. You see, everyone's seen the photos of like the endurance athletes shitting themselves. Yeah. That's why, because they implement these like nutrition strategies, like their nutritionists or they've seen online, like take these gels, take this and a combination of this and that, but they've never tried it before. They've never done it before. So they don't know how their digestive system reacts. And if you're just smashing all of these gels and you're putting your body through absolute stress, it's going to evacuate. You're going to shit your pants, and that's where you see the poor bastard running the last like 15 Ks with shit dripping down his leg. And I mean, obviously, you probably won't be in that situation in jiu-jitsu. They'll probably call an end to it.
Not if it's a no time limit match. They're all the rage.
If you shit your pants, would you get DQ'd?
That's a great question. If I was the ref, I would DQ the person. Yeah. I would DQ the person if they shat themselves.
Yeah,
even if they wet themselves, I would DQ them.
Yeah.
Like if someone threw up in the middle of a match, you'd have to DQ them, wouldn't you?
I suppose. Or
I don't know.
Is it a TKO?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I mean, it's probably in the official rules.
Well, it has to be. Speaking of like DQs, I saw this. It's actually from Jordan. Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu on his Instagram yesterday. He put up a post of the worst DQ in Jiu-Jitsu history. It was literally a takedown. It was like a leg sweep, like an inside leg trip, and the guy got DQ'd for slamming.
Oh, like worst as in that shouldn't have been a DQ.
Yeah, the ref DQ'd him for slamming when it was literally an inside leg trip and they just fell down. There was absolutely no lift, no slam at all.
Yeah.
And he got DQ'd for slamming. This ref doesn't know what a fucking takedown looks like.
There's a lot of bad referees.
Man, that killed me.
I once did a competition in Canada where I first started training with Peter. And I already found it weird that they got everyone together before the comp started to go over the rules.
That is
which
weird.
I already thought that was weird. But they actually, I remember this specifically because it stood out. And even as a white belt at the time, I was like, I don't think that's right. But anyway, I was a white belt, so I was like, oh, okay. But they said if you escaped a submission, you got an advantage for escaping the submission. And for those who don't know, it's the exact opposite. You get an advantage as if the person has to perform a technical escape, you get awarded an advantage for your submission attempt.
Mm-hmm.
You are never awarded points, advantages, or anything in jiu-jitsu for doing a defensive movement.
Mm-hmm.
So escaping a submission, escaping mounts, reversing someone from side control is not a sweep. It's an escape from a bad position. Therefore, it's a defensive movement. Like, you're never awarded for defensive movements. But just hammers home the point. There's a lot of shitty refs out there. And I'm not saying I want to be a ref. I'm not saying it's an easy job. I always say to my students when we're going over anything to do with rules for whatever competition, even the upcoming ADCC, which is will be pretty much starting at the time this episode comes out, more or less. Right. Well, this comes out like the day before ADCC starts.
Yeah. This Friday. Yeah.
You'll see bad ref calls at that, which is widely considered the Olympics of jiu-jitsu, right? You see bad ref calls at the Worlds, at the Black Belt Worlds finals. It's not an easy job. There's so much ambiguity in certain positions, and sometimes something's happening on the other side of the fighters' bodies that the ref can't quite see. There's no instant replay that there's no Hawkeye or any of that stuff. It's not an easy job.
Yeah.
Right? But things like what Jordan posted and the refs blatantly telling you, you get points or advantages for this. Bad.
Yeah.
But Peter, don't shit yourself.
Please
in
don't.
a comp. Because if I'm reffing your match, I'll DQ you.
Yeah, straight up. But just to
oh shit, I don't even know whose it is.
oh, gross. But to close out on that, his question was should I risk it for the biscuit or what do you DQ himself?
I don't know,
show up. I think
you can only answer that for yourself. I reckon.
I think what I would recommend is if you're competing in the morning, you could probably get away with fasting and just not eating, right? That works for some people. Some people can compete on an empty stomach, and particularly if you're used to training fasted, it's not the worst thing in the world, so long as you have enough electrolytes and you maybe have a little bit of liquid calories in the form of liquid carbohydrate, something along those lines. It's not the worst thing in the world. You won't necessarily automatically bonk rather, particularly if you've eaten the night before, right? Because your body's going to be using a lot of that energy from your glycogen stores during your morning comp. If you're competing in the afternoon, I would recommend fueling your body before competing. So eat something that you normally eat, like whatever you normally have for breakfast before training or in the day before training, just have that and go for it. But if it's a nervous thing, then maybe try and work through that and literally go to the toilet beforehand,
I think,
and don't implement anything new or different.
I think I've just thought of what could be a concrete line in the sand. That makes no sense.
A concrete line in the sand.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Just pick up the strip of concrete and move it. I think this would be the line for me, whether you risk, because that's what's the question, right? Do I forfeit or do I risk it?
Yeah.
If you're saying my digestive system isn't cooperating with me, I feel a bit funny in the tummy, blah, 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 risk it.
Yep.
If you get to the point where you're saying to yourself, I have diarrhea, forfeit, right? That's the line.
Yeah.
Is your digestive system messing with you to the point where you would classify it as diarrhea?
Yeah.
Forfeit.
Yeah.
Right?
Do not risk
That would
it.
be me. I wouldn't even show up to spectate. I'm not even leaving the house.
You're sick. You're not fucking.
Yeah,
you're not nervous.
That's the line in the sand for me.
That's
I can't believe we spoke about poop for 20 minutes, but
that's all right.
It is a shit podcast we got going on here.
But
anyway, Peter, thank you, bro. I'm still waiting for you to come visit me in Sydney. It's been too long. We were started as white belts together, both black belts now. Haven't seen each other in person since we were blue belts in Brazil. I think I was. I was thinking. So a long
Peter,
time. It's time. Come on, Peter.
Let's go.
Get down here, bro.
Okay, so next question is from Warren. So let's play that.
Hi, Kieren. Hi, Adam. My name is Warren. I'm a blue belt that's fallen into the no-gi world. With the latest ADCC trials, the submissions I saw most were rear naked chokes and heel hooks. What are your thoughts about this, and where do you see the next phases of attacks coming from? Cheers.
Awesome question, Warren. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Another good question that, is hard to answer. I mean, the next phase of jiu-jitsu, a lot of people are definitely arguing the more and more influences from wrestling trickling into to jiu-jitsu, because in the no-gi world, wrestlers have proven how well they can adapt to jiu-jitsu. In terms of attacks or submissions, I mean, yeah, people are still inventing new variations of submissions and whatever, but there's only so many joints in the body. Like, you can figure out a different way to manipulate the shoulder, like whatever, a Kimura or an Umnaplata. They're different submissions, but they're mechanically the same thing, right? So there's only so many joints to attack. There's only one neck to choke. And I think that, I don't know where the next evolution will be. I mean, rear naked chokes have been around forever. They're not going anywhere. I don't see how they're going anywhere at all. The back control is still considered the best position in jiu-jitsu, and a rear naked choke is like the money shot from that position, right? There's no can I throw up an inverted triangle from the back or an armbar from the back? Yeah, you can do all those things, but I mean, if I can pick one, I'm going to take a rear naked choke. The old argument is that if you have a choice, chokes are always better than joint locks. And I agree with that, because, for those who haven't heard this sort of saying or argument, it's that, well, with a choke, doesn't matter how big or strong you are, you go out, you're unconscious, you win the match. Like, you can't have strong carotid arteries that don't get blocked off, blood stops to the brain, you pass out. Whereas there's multiple competition footage of athletes letting limbs break to escape positions, or having an arm broken or whatever. So, you can't, doesn't matter how tough you are, if you're getting choked and the choke's being executed correctly, you're going to pass out, right? In saying that, the leg lock thing is interesting, because I don't think we're going to see as many heel hooks this ADCC as we did last. I'm actually really looking forward to this ADCC, because since the last one, there's been a lot that's sort of changed. Not a lot that's changed, but it has. Like, the no-gi scene has just exploded in such a short amount of time. Last ADCC, the big thing was not only heel hooks, but like how good leg entanglements and K-guard and that sort of stuff was. But now we're already seeing, how good people are at just not engaging in the leg lock game, like at being able to shut down someone who wants to go there. And I think it was Craig Jones, I think in an interview one time, said that in training, because he trains with the best leg lockers in the world in his gym, he almost never catches heel hooks in training, and he's him and everyone else at ADCC, they're all going to be fighting the best leg lockers in the world. So it's not like the back, where it doesn't matter if you're the best person in the world when you're on someone's back, you're the Marcelo Garcia of back control. It doesn't matter when then I'm on your back, right? It's not equal. But if you're the leg entanglement game, yes, there's positions where obviously if you've got me in the saddle, that's better for you than it is for me. But if I'm like better than you at leg locks, the chances are I'm going to be able to, like, I can still get to your legs, and it's semi-even playing ground, so to speak. Not quite, but you can see what I mean. It's very different to me being on your back. Like, you have no opportunity for attacks when I'm on your back. All you have is defense. Whereas even if I've got you in the saddle, you still have attacks that you can link from, clearing your knee line and whatever. So I think leg locks and heel hooks will still be there, but I believe the more educated people are getting with leg locks, and I've already seen this in the last couple of years in the professional level, is how much better people are at not fucking with it. And again, like, hearing people like Craig Jones and Lachlan Giles and Jeremy Skinner and these really high level leg lockers talk about how difficult it can actually be to keep someone's knee line and keep the leg entanglement position. Actually, perfect example. So a while back we did the episode, what we learned from Craig Jones's seminar. We both went to that seminar, and I don't know if you recall Craig saying this or not, but he actually said that, you know, at the professional level, again, this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about just some people training in the gym. We're talking about ADCC. So the best no-gi guys in the world. Craig said that it's pretty much gone are the days of being able to be in the saddle or be in 50-50 or whatever and find a heel hook. He was like, man, if I don't catch the heel on the entry, like I won't get it, because like people turn out, whatever, like people have gotten so savvy at the whole thing. You know, he's like, if I don't, you know, if I'm doing an Imanari roll, or if I'm doing a false reap, he's like, I need to dig the heel and catch it and get a bite on the entry. Cause like, otherwise I can't just do a false reap to get to the saddle and then dig the heel later. Like those days are gone. Yes, for the average person, it still plays out like that in the gym, but we're talking about the best guys in the world. So it's a very long-winded way of me saying that heel hooks are still going to be there, but I don't think anywhere near as prevalent as people continue to still be super educated about that whole system. So I don't know I don't know what the next catchy thing will be. You know, there was the Kimura trap phase, you know, how we got the leg lock phase. But if you think about the direction that a lot of people are going, it's this body lock passing, sort of passing through half guard, or people are doing this high step passing. People are kind of going back to passing as a means of, how do I pass without getting caught in leg entanglements?
Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of going back to not old school jiu-jitsu, but the original, whatever, however you want to phrase it, jiu-jitsu of kind of going half guard, side control, mount pack. And then, you know, well, then you've got to some degree your standard submissions. Yes, you've got lots of variations of them, but, you know, if you're side control top, you've got what? You got like your arm triangles, you got arm bars, you got transitioning to mount, you got, you know, platters or takeo platters or whatever. You got your, you know, if you end up on the bottom because they bridge and roll from out, you got your guillotines, you get to the back, you got your rear naked chokes, and yeah, whatever little subtle twists of those. So I think that's at least the current trajectory. And then the way that I've seen and I continue to see the sport of jiu-jitsu change and evolve and whatever, it's, you know, it has phases of what's meta. You know, and I don't know if that's just a gaming term. Do people know what it means to say something's meta? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not sure. Because sometimes I say something like, I've said this to you, I'll say in the gym, I'll say strafe, and people don't know what it means. And it turns out it's a very gaming / military word. If you don't know what strafing is, it's like walking sideways like a crab, like either to the left or to the right. Anyway, so like jiu-jitsu has phases of what's meta, you know? So, you know, it used to be whatever, like you used to have to stand up to pass or whatever. And then, well, simple example, you'd stand up to pass and then guard players were like, well, how do I fucking deal with this? Okay, leg entanglements and blah, 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 blah. And now people are going, okay, well, leg locks are the shit now. So I'll go back to being on my knees and getting half guard and passing that way. And so maybe the next phase could be as simple as that. People start getting, you know, people start struggling to pass half guard and whatever again, and then guard passers start standing up again, and then leg entanglements are back. I don't know. But sorry, Warren, I'm rambling a little bit, but rear naked chokes definitely aren't going anywhere. I think at this ADCC on this weekend, I think we're predominantly going to see still exactly what you said and exactly what you saw at the trials. You know, submissions from the back, heel hooks, and you know, guillotines are always dangerous. Maybe a few buggy chokes, but I think if I had to statistically say what submissions we'll see the most, I would say, a variation of a leg lock and rear naked chokes.
Yeah. And I would throw in, like, it's not really submission based, so a little bit outside the scope of the question. You probably agree with this. I think this ADCC, we're going to see some high level wrestling.
Oh, no doubt, for sure.
I think, like, well, ADCC traditionally has, you know, because of the rule set, has a lot. It is more wrestle heavy. But I think this ADCC, we're going to see some actual wrestling. Yeah. That makes sense. Because you have teams, like all the teams have cottoned on like, hey, in this rule set, you need some fucking high level wrestling. like B team. They have actual wrestlers in the team.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right.
And I think that effect is a ripple effect throughout. All the top guys, they have very, very good wrestling. And I think that Gordon Ryan he was on Joe Rogan Experience. You probably didn't listen to that with
I did it.
Mo.
I listened to it. It was so good. I loved it.
Yeah,
it was almost as good as the Rogan Eddie Bravo episode.
That was also good.
So good. So good.
I listened to both of those. They were fucking awesome.
Vote Bravo.
Yeah. The earth is flat. But in that episode, pretty sure it was Gordon Ryan that spoke about he believes that the next evolution of jiu-jitsu will probably come from I might be confusing him with someone else, but regardless, the point remains that it will come from like really high level wrestlers, Olympic level wrestlers, and teach them jiu-jitsu, and they will be the next thing. Because of the no-gi trajectory being so wrestle heavy at the moment. However, there's going to be, because jiu-jitsu is a big fucking chess game that's played out on if we were to roll, it's a mini chess game that's happening, in real time. But the jiu-jitsu meta is a huge chess game with like the entire jiu-jitsu community, right? So, one pawn move here, one pawn move there to counter that, to counter that, to counter that. And the example you were giving from 2019, because K-guard and leg entanglements was such a big deal, what have we seen ever since then? In Who's Number One, in everything, all leg entanglement shutdowns. That's what we've seen. The progression of these high-level teams getting together is leg entanglement shutdowns. And people coming out from like the B team or New Wave Jiu-Jitsu or wherever it is, those are two of the many amazing teams out there. You'll see that all their game is geared toward, progressing that, shutting it down, working on different things, going back to, chest heavy passing, body lock, etc. So I think that what we've seen also happening in the background is the significant emphasis on wrestling. So maybe not this ADCC, but the next one, the wave will be to shut down wrestling. It'll be like, I don't know, wrestling shutdown. I know you can't in the first part of the match, but yeah.
Yeah, that it could go that way as well. I mean, the wrestler influence is unquestionable, but yeah, like how much wrestler influence, it's going to have its period of time to shine, and then what will then be the next thing that'll be like counter wrestling or whatever.
Or maybe it'll just be a staple. Maybe like no-gi jiu-jitsu will incorporate, say in like 10 years, maybe it'll be people that'll like day one white belts in 10 years will think nothing of it, that wrestling is a big part. They won't even think of it as wrestling. They'll think of it as stand-up jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just a big part of it.
I think that is really what we're going to see, is more emphasis on the stand-up game.
Yeah. The only point that I would sort of struggle to define is there's only so many hours in the day, and only, people can spend 10 years just doing exclusively wrestling and still not get particularly good at it, right? It's not like there's only so much time in the day. Like it's very difficult to think you're going to become a Division I level wrestler and also a black belt ADCC winning jiu-jitsu fighter. Like that is a lot of information. There's a lot of I don't think there's enough time in the day to do it all, right? Like, so I wonder where the line is, for example, do you get a high level wrestler and teach them? Yeah. Like, you can take a high level wrestler and teach them a little bit of jiu-jitsu, or take a high-level jiu-jitsu guy and teach them a little bit of wrestling. And it's like,
what's the better formula?
Yeah, what's the better formula? And okay, it's not as simple as that, I don't think, because every individual is different. Some people are going to be more naturally gifted towards wrestling. So,
well, look at Nicky Rod. That's what they did with him. They took a high-level wrestler and taught him jiu-jitsu. Yeah. But he also just happened to be in the best team in the world.
But then you also look at, okay, I know, mentioning a lot of Australians, because obviously, well, it goes without saying, but, someone like Craig was kind of the opposite, right? Super high-level jiu-jitsu, who now does wrestling, has now incorporated a whole bunch more wrestling, so I think it's on the individual, but it's, regardless, you kind of have to do both, right?
I would like to see the sport grow develop, I should say, not grow, but develop and advance to the point where jiu-jitsu guys don't need to be like, oh, I need to go do some wrestling classes, or I need to do some wrestling privates, or I need to like study wrestling, because we shouldn't be studying wrestling. We should be studying jiu-jitsu stand-up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it as well. Because I mean, I've got some students who do wrestle at a local gym that is a wrestling gym, and or I've also got students who come from a judo background. And yes, there's a lot of crossover, but they are different sports.
They
like
are.
the amount of judo takedowns where you get your back taken, but it wouldn't matter in judo because it would be an ippon, but in jiu-jitsu, you just got your back taken. And there's similar takedowns in wrestling because you would win because you pinned their shoulders, but hey, shit, now you're in a crucifix, right? Or, in wrestling, there's single leg variations where you have your head to the outside.
Yeah.
Not in jiu-jitsu, bro. You're getting guillotined.
Or there's wrestling moves. Like a lot of wrestling guys, their whole game is like suplexes. It's illegal.
Yeah, right.
So I don't want to go to a wrestling class and spend like a month working on suplexes.
No, that's right. But I think it depends as well on the rule set. Like ADCC rule set definitely promotes a lot more wrestling. But yeah, the argument for why jiu-jitsu guys are so bad at stand-up, whether it's a gi or no gi, is just because of the rule set of the sport. If you take the formula of being, a high-level wrestler, judo guy, and teaching them a little bit of jiu-jitsu, that's usually not the correct formula because 99% of the match happens on the ground.
Yeah.
So
unless you're
if you're a judo guy, wrestler guy, you just pull guard and it negates everything. Not everything, because a lot of wrestling is also about controlling a downed person or like all these positions from turtle because you're trying to pin someone, whatever, But anyway, sorry, Warren. Again, this is a rambly episode.
No, it's a good topic though. I like this. I like this topic.
I feel like a lot of these questions that we've got on this episode of Ask a Black Belt, the one question could be a whole episode.
And I've been thinking about this specific topic now a lot because I have done some wrestling privates, and I have been thinking about, should I go do wrestling classes like twice a week or whatever? And I've decided over time that no, I shouldn't. And the reason that I'm not going to is you're right. There's only so much time in the day. There's only so much energy I can put into training in general. And I want to sway that toward jiu-jitsu and strength and conditioning. Like I'm not going to eliminate a jiu-jitsu class for a wrestling class. What I would like to do is more wrestling privates or someone with we have a black belt at the gym who has a lot of wrestling experience. And whenever he teaches wrestling, he teaches it from a jiu-jitsu perspective.
Yeah.
He teaches jiu-jitsu wrestling.
I think, again, referencing Craig because he was recently here in Australia and, B teams all over the jiu-jitsu interwebs. But it's also just different in this part of the world, training in America. Craig said, well, man, at our gym, like here in Sydney, Australia, you get someone who comes in and, to start jiu-jitsu, they're completely new to jiu-jitsu. Maybe they're fit and healthy, but that's it. They're new to jiu-jitsu. Maybe they played some rugby, right? But in America, you can get a guy who's new to jiu-jitsu, but he's like, I've never done jiu-jitsu, but I wrestled for 3 years in high school. So like
we don't have that.
We don't have that. So in the gym, you're constantly going to have just a lot more of the average people in the gym who just have grappling experience. Okay, some are going to be like, oh yeah, I did a year of wrestling in high school, and some are going to be, yeah, man, like I competed all through high school and college in wrestling. Yeah, I'm not Division 1, but like, I've got
collegiate wrestling.
Yeah, I'm a collegiate wrestler, and I did, I've had 200 wrestling matches in my career or whatever, but I'm new to jiu-jitsu. So you're constantly going to have just wrestling influences, and we don't have that here. So here in Australia, you can definitely see why people feel the need to go, I got to go do some wrestling.
Yeah.
Because you don't have wrestling for jiu-jitsu on the regular in your no-gi classes, whereas in the US you do.
Yeah. And I think that like there was, in gi jiu-jitsu, whenever we're doing like stand-up, a lot of the takedowns are from judo, right? But I think that there's been a little bit of a delay with the same thing to be said about no-gi stand-up. The takedowns and the stand-up game should be more wrestling influence. And I think that's slowly starting to happen now, but it's been, even just in my time in jiu-jitsu, I've seen it be more and more on the top of people's minds. There's more urgency, I'd say, particularly in the Australian scene. And I'm talking about hobbyists here. I'm not talking about the top levels because, Craig, they've got it sorted. They know that, they get wrestling coaching, right? But for the hobbyists, there's like just talking to peers and training partners, it's like an urgency, like shit, we are behind. We need to catch up. These blue belts in the States, you know, their wrestling's better or whatever. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not isolated to a specific gym or anything like that. It's like a thing across the board, unless you come from a gym that has just so happens to have a wrestler there, a guy that or girl that like, you know, as a high level wrestler that has that influence in that small community. There's no ripple effect throughout the entire Australian scene. And this might be weird for the American listeners to be like, okay, we don't have that. That's how I feel.
I think it's just part of where we are in the world. And, it'd be interesting to see if the leg locks can be the thing that neutralizes. And look, I think it does. Like leg entanglements do definitely sort of neutralize wrestling, you know, on the surface level, so to speak.
The guard pull does, you know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, a guard pull neutralizes wrestling.
You know, like even a good wrestler being top heavy and whatever.
Totally.
You know, I've trained with heaps of wrestlers, whether it's in the gi or no gi. And even if taking submissions off the table, like their base is just something that's another level, man. Like getting in underneath them can be really hard to sweep them. Even if they don't know what the F they're doing, right? They're just very hard to move. But it'll be interesting to see because obviously if you can tangle up the legs, it's then, you know, there's no Greco-Roman going on there when the legs are tangled up.
Suplexing me here, boy.
Yeah, so we'll see. But, you know, even I think it's just the nature of America having much more of a wrestling influence. And even the highest level Brazilian no-gi competitors who are becoming big and famous and whatever, where do they live and train? In the US, you know, like not a lot of them are still full-time in Brazil because even Brazil, there's not a lot of wrestling in Brazil, right? It's a lot of hard dudes, but yeah. A lot of hard dudes. It wasn't sexual until you made that face.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, so the next question is from Taylor. So let's hear from Taylor.
Kieren.
Yeah, it's loading, bro. This is live on the air. I think we're having a loading issue. Adam, entertain the people.
If you're not watching the video, I'm juggling make-believe balls in my hand. No, I don't know. Come on, man. Get your shit together. What can I talk about? Let's see, guys. We had a very punishing training session on Saturday. Kieren didn't turn up to it. It was copious amounts of burpees, and it absolutely sucked. Oh, did you ask Carl in that about the session? No, you didn't. You came in on Monday. I said, ask Carl.
No, you mentioned it, though.
I said, ask him about Saturday's class.
You mentioned it in the group cool down. You were like...
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you were like, oh, Carl, fuck you. Throw him under the bus. Okay, so now I'm going to play the question
go
from
ahead.
Taylor after that short interlude.
Hey, Kieren and Adam. My name is Taylor. I am a white belt in Sioux City, Iowa. My question for you guys is I currently do Jiu Jitsu about 6 times a week, and I'm looking to add some sort of strength training program to my regimen. I'm wondering if I should do, focus on the heavy lifts or if I should do calisthenics 3-5 days a week. Just looking for recommendations there. And then I have another question, which is who would win in a fight? A online blue belt in Jiu Jitsu or a 12-year-old black belt in Taekwondo? Thanks for everything you guys do. I love listening to the podcast. Been listening a long time. Appreciate it, guys.
What an awesome 2-part question, Taylor.
I love it, Taylor. Thank you.
I lost my shit when I heard the fucking blue belt versus the online blue belt versus the 12-year-old black belt Taekwondo. I love that.
I love when the question starts with who would win in a fight.
Yeah.
Look, for the lifting, strength and conditioning, I'll mainly palm this one off to Kieren. For me, it's, I've said it before, anytime this subject comes up, as someone who doesn't do a lot of it, always just say, well, the best workout is the one that you do, right? Even if it's not perfectly structured, even if it's not the correct lifts or whatever, if it's that or nothing, short of, I don't mean do lifts incorrectly, but I mean, you might be doing
bench press,
press, bicep curls, something that is, but whatever, if it's that or doing nothing, still good for you, So yeah, the best one's the one you do, but over to Kieren to plug away the best option
the best option is to buy my course out now. It is the Jiu-Jitsu Performance and Longevity course, partnered up with Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu. If you haven't listened to that episode that we did with Jordan, check it out. But yeah, in all seriousness, that is a shameless plug for the course. But I'll talk to you about what is on the course and what I recommend. Now, you mentioned heavy lifting versus calisthenics, Taylor. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right? Meaning you can get a huge benefit from doing calisthenics, or you could get a huge benefit from lifting weights in particular. And for those that don't know the difference, when we're talking about weightlifting, we're talking about using your body to move an external weight, whereas calisthenics is using your body to move your own body's weight, or adding weight to your body to do weighted calisthenic works. The example would be the difference between doing a lat pull down versus doing a pull up. Right? So if you think a bar at a gym, you're pulling your body weight up, that is calisthenics. Doing a lat pull down would be considered weightlifting, sort of, using a pin machine. But you get the idea, right? So yeah, there's benefit in both. However, what the way I like to approach this is think about what is more accessible for most people. Now, I think that it is more practical and accessible and easier to do weightlifting, as in, I'm not talking about Olympic weightlifting, it's a different conversation, but doing your regular sort of gym bro workout, but modifying it for jiu-jitsu, having jiu-jitsu in mind when selecting exercises and when formulating your periodized program. That's the way I approach it. The reason I say it's more accessible, but you may think that, well, can't you just go to a park and do push-ups and pull-ups, and isn't that more accessible? Well, yeah, but you'll reach a limit, right? So calisthenics is a very vast, like broad spectrum. We had a white belt at the gym that came in on Monday night, and he showed us he's like planked to handstand, this crazy like calisthenics movement, and he said that it took him 4 years to get to that point, and it is very impressive. He shows incredible body control, body awareness, and very, very strong, like lots of strength. But you can achieve similar strength results by using targeted weightlifting, and arguably it's probably, in my opinion, it's an easier path, but similar results, if that makes sense. That may be a cop-out answer, but I think that if you're into calisthenics, go for it. If you're impartial, you're like, hey, I just want to get strong for jiu-jitsu, I would stick with weightlifting and incorporate calisthenics where they make sense.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, yeah, super impressive what this guy, Ziv is his name, who came in and could do the whole like if you're kind of sitting
like an L sit to handstand, yeah.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, exactly. So super impressive. But yeah, the question is adding strength, conditioning, weightlifting, calisthenics, whatever. Essentially, you're wanting to get stronger for jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, yeah, some calisthenics in there, but like things like pull-ups and whatever are really good.
Yeah, definitely.
And I would go, weightlifting for the path, because if the question was, hey, I want to get stronger for handstands, I'd be like, yeah, cool. Calisthenics is probably the way to go, or whatever, I don't know, if you think about calisthenics, it's lifting your own body weight. Mm-hmm. Weightlifting is lifting
an external force.
And in jiu-jitsu, you're mostly lifting an external force, right? Pulling and pushing an external force.
Yeah. But there's ways to incorporate, like, there's different exercises you can choose that make it more practical for jiu-jitsu. For example, instead of doing, I don't know, some like a regular core exercise, you could do a Turkish get-up, which... That's
right. Or instead of doing regular rows, you could do renegade rows.
Yeah, totally.
So there's a lot of, even if you're taking the calisthenics approach, instead of doing regular pull-ups, you can do pull-ups but hanging onto gi grips,
Yeah, totally.
Like there's a lot
of
a
towel, the same thing.
Yeah. To make it more jiu-jitsu applicable.
Yeah, I think...
You know what? Like I used to go to the gym and to finish, like just as like a novelty finisher to the workout, me and Jake, one of the blue belts at the gym, we used to go to the gym together, and as the finisher, just for fun and novelty and just to cook yourself right at the end, we would get a fit ball. What are they called? Fit balls, the ones that people sit on at their desk, like the big
bouncy ball.
Those big bouncy ball.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're actually called.
Right, and we would get one of the larger ones that we could kind of just fit our arms around, and then we would do like sets of like 30 seconds, like squeezing, like trying to imagine if you were trying to pop it.
Oh, wow.
So
Like
if
a
you're-
seatbelt sort of thing.
Yeah, like so you're practicing your squeeze for a seatbelt or your gable grip squeeze from a body lock position or whatever, because it's a very, like that position happens a lot in jiu-jitsu, right? When you're literally trying to give someone
it's very similar,
the
like
tightest hug that
squeezing a big round ball, particularly if you are rolling with Jake, it is very similar. Squeezing his big round.
But so there's things that
ball.
you can do that like directly translate,
Yeah, 100%. And if you don't know what those are, then finding someone that has put in the work will help a lot. Like if you're new to
and you're looking for someone to guide you through it.
No,
If you're
seriously,
looking
but
for
seriously though,
if you're looking for
about
like if there's a course or something,
yeah,
that
like
I
if you could just spend 149. No, but if you think about it, right, like if you're new to working out, like external to jiu-jitsu, and you're thinking, shit, I want to work out to get stronger for jiu-jitsu, and a bit of aesthetic and whatever, get stronger, it's good for you. If I want to go down that path, then doing something that is jiu-jitsu specific would be more beneficial, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it's just the intelligent way to do it. If we were sitting here doing a podcast that was called fucking Beyond Track and Field,
Yeah.
and I said, yeah, you could just, and your sport is the 100 meter and 200 meter, right? Like it'd be very specific, the weightlifting and whatever that you want to
100%.
do to become a faster runner.
Yes.
Essentially, yes, a sport like that, they go to the extremes of actually looking at your stride and things like this. But in terms of the end of the day, how do you get faster? You need to get stronger, right?
Exactly.
Like it's more explosive. And
Yeah.
so you would do it to become a faster runner, you need to get stronger. And you would do that in a very specific way. So it's no different for jiu-jitsu. It's just slightly more ambiguous because it is all-encompassing, all-body sport.
Yeah.
So there's no one muscle that you don't really use, right? So you kind of have to do everything.
And if you think that getting stronger for jiu-jitsu would be better just to do more jiu-jitsu, well, I've got a story for you. There was a very interesting series of research papers published on looking at this exact question, but what they used was endurance runners, sprinters, and powerlifters. So they took these three groups and they're like, okay, let's see what cross-training does to their performance in their given field. And what they found, to cut to the chase, is that by implementing strength training to the endurance training groups, it actually benefit their overall performance in endurance running. So strength training for endurance runners improved that group's performance more than the control group that did more endurance running. So they split them down the middle. One side of the A group, if you will, they just did endurance running. They did more endurance running than B group, but they supplemented the endurance running with strength training. B group performed better. And they found that across the board, with the exception of powerlifters, they performed worse when they added endurance training. So they added more cardio, and that sort of makes sense though.
It does sort of make
because,
sense.
The whole like, oh, does cardio kill your gains? No, it doesn't kill your gains. But in terms of that very, very specific, like powerlifting, they need to maintain as much mass as possible. And endurance running or long distance cardio is counterintuitive to powerlifting. That's like a niche example. But for sport, all the top athletes, even Formula One guys, golfers, right?
They all do strength training. Yeah, golfers.
Tiger Woods was one of the first golfers in our modern era that really brought to the forefront the significance of treating this like, no, you're an athlete.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I'm surprised you know that because you didn't even know who Tiger Woods was.
Bullshit.
Yeah, but no, you're right. He was one of the maybe not the first, but at least, I mean, one of the first as in massive superstar in the golf world.
Exactly. The biggest influence.
Yeah, who worked out.
Yeah.
And
even Formula One drivers.
Man, that's so ignorant when people think, well, you just sit in a car. Like, man, those dudes lose like 3-4 kilos of sweat in a race. Like,
100%.
and they're in the gym all the time.
100%. So if you're applying this same philosophy to jiu-jitsu, and if you have a coach that's like, nah, bro, just do more jiu-jitsu, you get stronger for jiu-jitsu, you do more jiu-jitsu. I'm like, well, nah, that's a bit old school. That's a bit backward. Now, there's a threshold though. I will, I'm waffling a little bit.
Yeah,
but
you can't just do 90% strength
Exactly.
and 10% jiu-jitsu.
What's the fucking point?
yeah.
Like if you're training once a week for jiu-jitsu and you're training 3 strength training sessions, but your goal is jiu-jitsu, you got it backward. You got it backward. You need to swap those figures around. So just to hone in on Taylor's 3 to 5 times a week. Depends on how many jiu-jitsu sessions you're doing, but for
I think you said like about 6 a week.
If he's doing 6 a week, you should definitely not do 5 sessions of anything outside of jiu-jitsu a week, in my opinion. Unless you're like, pro athlete, you're taking some special sauce or Jesus in the say. But no, in all seriousness, like I think that the max I would recommend for someone that's training jiu-jitsu 6 times a week is 3 sessions and doing like a 3-day split that you can find on the course that's available now. Jordan teaches jiu-jitsu and myself made that course. Check it out. Link in the description. But no, but that's a 3-day a week program, or you can do a 2-day a week program. Now, when you're comparing, which one should I do? It's whatever you can commit to more consistently. I would say start with a 2-day a week program if you're brand new to lifting and you're still maintaining 6 jiu-jitsu sessions a week and see how you go. And if you want to expand that, go to 3. Now, I wouldn't just take a 3-day a week program and just drop off one of the days, right? That's not how you want to do it. You need to modify the program so it encompasses all the areas you need to work on, all the key lifts, and you also want to make sure that your program is progressing. So you're not doing the same exercises for 12 months straight and then changing your program or whatever, or getting bored with it, or you need to make sure that your weight, your reps, and your exercises are progressing as you progress along the way. And if you want a program that does just that for you, then check out the link in the description and get it now.
Get it now.
Get it now. There's so much more in the course. Listen to the podcast I did with Jordan, and I was also on his podcast, so check that out. I put everything that we spoke about, all the links in the description of this episode. Buy my shit.
And on that note, guys, that was.
We didn't answer. No. Who would win in a fight? Who would win in a fight between a online blue belt versus a 12-year-old black belt in Taekwondo? Taekwondo. I always say Taekwondo. Taekwondo.
I love these questions because it's like, we're like, do I try answer it seriously? Do I not?
Oh, definitely. You got to take it very seriously.
I know that. Well, I feel that it's going to hurt you in your soul to say the online blue belt because of how much you hate them. But I mean, a 12-year-old black belt in Taekwondo is.
Just a 12-year-old.
It's just a 12-year-old, So the question is, even if the online blue belt is, crap, I guess you could strip back the question to say who would win in a fight, an adult or a 12-year-old.
Have you heard the...
let's imagine they're both 12, even though you can't be 12 and get a blue belt. Let's imagine they're both 12, like a 12-year-old blue belt in jiu-jitsu and a 12-year-old black belt in Taekwondo.
If it's an online
blue belt.
It's not a legit blue belt.
And I'm giving it to the Taekwondo kid. Fucking flying kick in the face.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
I'm still going to have to go with jiu-jitsu.
In the adult, yeah, okay. It's like who would win a fight, like you said, an adult or a 12-year-old. And it's funny, I've started to assist Aaron at the gym coaching the kids classes. And I've, had a couple of roles with some of the kids, and man, 12-year-olds are really easy to beat.
They fuck me up.
No, they're easy to smash. They're just so small. You can choke them out. Like I choked like 4 kids out. No, I'm absolutely kidding. But like I think that even
like you can. I mean, for lack of a better term, like you can very easily just push a kid around.
Yeah.
Like even
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Kieran's walking down the street, pushes a kid over. Hey, watch out.
Yeah.
I do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. But even if you got like a 50 kilo legit blue belt, like a person, and they rolled, came up against someone that was 100 kilos, right? But had only been training for a week or hadn't been training at all. Could the 50 kilo blue belt win? Yes. Will they? Maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe not.
Yeah, like the offset, like, the argument is that technique beats size and strength and whatever, but that doesn't scale at the beginning. Like it takes, what would be if I could just
it's like exponential, right?
That's right. Yeah. Like if you had it on a graph, you have to get to the upper ends of technical expertise for the weight and strength to become insignificant, right? But you know, in the earlier days, like you can even be like a blue belt or even a purple belt perhaps, and depending on your size and the size of your opponent, you could even be like a purple belt and not have enough technique to offset the amount of weight that they have.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, let's just call that weight 100 kilos. You know, like you need a decent amount of technique to deal with someone who's 100 kilos.
Yeah.
So,
and we do need to address the elephant in the room. Like Taekwondo is not really a combat sport. Like,
no, it's not. It's
pretend. So fuck those guys.
Yeah.
No, I mean we spoke about that.
They do
before.
some cool shit.
Yeah,
yeah. It's not a combat sport.
You don't.
I'm sure there's definitely the odd. You know,
there'd be a guy out there that would kick my ass and be like, "I'll show you." And
there'd be the
Definitely.
odd taekwondo dude in the world who
smash me.
is then gone on to become a successful MMA fighter or whatever.
But it's
100%,
definitely no combat karate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
bringing that one back. But I got one for you now, and this I love this one. Who would win in a fight, you or 12-year-olds? Could you beat 12-year-olds in a fight?
You know what?
And you're on a field. We'll establish context. So you're not like trapped in a bathroom or something where they like pin you in a stall. You're in an open field.
I can be in a stall.
No, you're in an open field.
Well, I can be wherever. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna say. Wait, can I do whatever means necessary to beat them, or beat them in jiu-jitsu?
It's a complete unarmed combat.
Yeah. But like
they can do whatever they want. It's not jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Okay. I can beat them. I'll tell you why, because I've had experience.
So this one time I was in Russia.
Yeah. No, so it's if it were jiu-jitsu, maybe not, because with teaching the kids class, I often do this, funny sort of game with them. Long story short, it kind of often results in like a stacks on at the end. And so I've had 12 kids piled on top of me before,
Is this Hunter?
No. So we'll do this game. We actually used to do this sometimes at the gym in Brazil as like a novelty warm up, just to so it's not the same shit every day, just for a bit of fun. So everyone would be jogging in the circle, and then the instructor would say something like, okay, now as quick as you can, groups of 3 that have, one white belt in the group, and everyone has got to find the group, and the people who didn't make it into a group, it's like, okay, 10 push-ups. And then you'd go back to jogging, and then, group of 5 with, 2 girls in it, and then people would try to find a group of 5.
And there's only one girl. And
right, yeah. And so
funny.
I do that game with the kids, and then often at the end I'll go, okay, and group of 5 with 1 black belt in it. And obviously I'm the only black belt. And then I run, and all the kids are chasing me, and they tackle me and whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've had like 10, 12 kids stacks on me, and they're younger than 12, and I can't get up, But if we're talking like it's
okay.
Yeah, bro, like think. Let's say these kids weigh, a 12-year-old might weigh like 40 kilos, 50 kilos.
So it's 12 times 40.
No, you did the math, bro.
I don't know, man. You got a calculator. What is this? Beyond Math podcast? Come on, bro.
Well, it's hundreds of kilos, right?
Yeah, but it's not all on top of one point. And I can bench 100 kilos. So I can bench
It's 480 kilos.
Man, I can
Kieren.
bench that. Come on. But it's dispersed across your body. Like if you get one arm free, all you have to do is beat 40 kilos.
Yeah, but
and then you get that arm and you grab the other one, you punch him in the head.
You need to do more.
You got to run.
Well, you've led me to my next point. If it's like no rules, these kids are savages, I'm fighting for my life.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to win, because all it's going to take is for you to shove one 12-year-old really hard, and they're going to start crying. So that's one kid.
Okay, here's the thing though. These are regular 12-year-olds off the street.
Oh, but they're on coke or something.
Yeah,
but keep coming.
They're not like normal, as in that you can't just take out the first one really bad and they get scared and they we'll back off, and you can pick them off one by one, and then you're the attacker.
They just keep coming.
They coordinate.
They're like zombie kids almost.
They're zombie kids.
But far, like from that.
But they take regular damage. They don't take zombie level damage.
I still reckon you can just smash one and
Have we spoken about this before? I felt like we might have.
I don't know.
Whatever.
If we can get enough of our listeners to donate a kid,
Do you have a 12-year-old? Donate now. Meet at this field. BYO Coke.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. Oh, I don't know, man. I think that I would have a good shot of winning.
I can't believe we've spoken about this for so long.
I think we have actually spoken about this for early days, but it's funny. Yeah, man, I'd kick him in the head so hard.
Yeah, I reckon you could take him out pretty quick.
Yeah, I think one to two really
But
well-placed hits.
once they get on top of you, bro, it's hard.
You don't let him get on top of you.
But then again, you know.
Oh, that's good. That's a good point though, because like if one catches you and you have to slow down for that one
Yeah.
when you're running, and then the rest just swarm you, you could be fucked.
Yeah. And
I don't know if you'd be able to get
it's
up.
hard. In the gym, I can't get up, but also in the gym, I'm being very cautious.
Yeah.
I'm not just being like, "Hadoosh," big hip, or wham, and you know.
But what if they caught you and pinned you down and then started clawing at your eyes or something like that? If you had 12 humans clawing at your face, you're fucked.
Yeah, it's not very good, is it?
Yeah. But they're also 12-year-olds.
I think there's really, I mean, we're just going to have to test it.
Yeah. Do you think you would fare better in an open field or in something like a bathroom stall where like there's 12 of them, but you're backed up into a stall? And it's kind of like, it would be like Sparta 300.
Nah, being in a stall would be rough because you're going to end up having all your space taken away and you're going to get pushed. Like you'll end up getting taken down like someone does against the cage in UFC.
But couldn't you? I'm imagining you being backed up.
What are you going to do?
Toilet.
Spider climb
no,
up?
No, you
the
like
cubicle?
pin yourself on the walls in the cubicle and just boot, just kick, just aim kicks at heads, man. Like they come in, you're fucking just smacking them. You got a 12-year-old just dropping left, right, and center, man. You're just kicking them.
And then they get slowed down because they have to climb over the other 12-year-olds. But then they're going to have a height advantage.
But it's literally 300, man. You create like a wall of bodies. And then like, only thing, if someone finds the goat track and goes over the top of the stalls, you're fucked.
Yeah.
So it needs to be one of those stalls with like
this goes
all
to
the way.
ceiling.
Yeah. And then pin and kick. But I don't know. I'd probably
There's quite specific parameters to win this fight.
Yeah. If I had to choose, I'd probably take the open field because I think I could outrun a group of 12-year-olds.
Of course you could. The fucking 12.
Yeah. So I think I'd be able to like run around them and like sort of herd them. And then like come in and pick one off.
All of a sudden you've got them in a fence, in a gate and you close the gate.
No, but if you've seen like wolves like hunt a pack of like animals and sometimes they go around and like herd the and
I've
get
seen
the
sheepdogs do it.
Yeah. And you can like sheep them in and like herd them in and then you can pick off the weak ones on the outside rim. That's what I'll do. Just come in, take one out and then herd around, take one out.
I'm going to have to revoke your license to assist in the kids' classes. I got to rock up and you're herding the kids.
Yeah.
Kieren, what are you doing? You're like, just training, practicing.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
That's funny,
shit.
Oh,
that
shit.
was quite, well, I mean, we have to have a rant at the start or the end. So
Yeah,
that ties in. Guys, thank you so much for all your questions. I think we even had some more, but we clearly ran out of time. But episode 120 will be up before we know it. And
Yeah,
then that'll
please
be
submit your questions.
Next Ask a Black Belt.
Yeah.
So please keep the questions coming. All jokes aside, Kieren and Jordan's new course, check it out. Is it live yet or still just the
I think it'll be live once this goes up. And if it's not, just follow the link in the description of this podcast, wherever you're listening, and you'll be able to put your email address in and you'll also get a discount and everything like that. So follow the link regardless and you'll get looked after. Don't worry.
Sick. And then for anyone who is just wanting more and more podcasts, let me give a shout out to one of my students, Harry. Harry has a podcast. He's like a life coach and business advisor and does a whole lot of that sort of stuff. He's got a podcast called Success with Purpose. And I did an episode with him that came out last week, I believe. So if you're after hearing more of my annoying voice, but it's Success with Purpose, the joys and costs of success in Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah.
And I believe he introduced me in that episode by saying, you were the opposite of any definition of success, is how he introduced me. Despite all odds, you made it.
You are
like
the
that.
least successful person I know. Therefore, for contrast, here you are.
Yeah, so I'm the control subject
Yes.
for his
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, check that out if you want, guys. Otherwise,
I'll put a link to it in the description so you'll be able to check that out. Yeah.
Otherwise, as always, Instagram @BeyondJujitsu_podcast. If you want to support the show further, we have our Patreon. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in and we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.